Welcome to another episode of Marketing School. I'm Eric Su.
And I'm Neil Patel.
And today we're going to talk about what you should do if you're not hitting numbers. So I'll share an anecdote. Back in my days where I was leading marketing at a online education startup called Treehouse, this is when I was, 26 years old. I had no idea what was going on, and I was only one month into the job. And what happened was our revenues were flat for the last 2 years, and we were not hitting numbers. We're flat. Okay, we only had a couple months of cash left in the bank. And 1 month into my job, where we were kind of in trouble, and I was promoted into my role, the CEO pulled me aside and said, "Hey, we're gonna have to let you go if you don't hit numbers this month." Totally, I was like, "Oh, what do I do? I don't even know what to do." But what I did was this. At the time, I knew that we had to pause all of our ad spend. I paused all of our ad spend, and then I audited what we were doing at the time. So don't feel like you need to jump into things quickly. Take a look at what you're doing, pause what you're doing, take a step back, and then start to analyze, okay? And then from there, if you start to see some trends, you start to see some opportunities, go ahead and start betting. At the time, I paused everything, and I literally saw some trends within our analytics around YouTube advertising, and I bet everything on YouTube advertising, and it ended up working out, and now they are a very healthy company. So that's just one example, and I'm just giving you a couple of tactics just for that case, but that's a framework you can use.
The concept that I like looking at is, if you're not hitting your numbers, that means whatever you're doing isn't working. You need to do drastic experiments. It could be the one that Eric just talked about. It could be a different one. It could be you try SEO. It could be you do paid ads. It could be you send your paid ads to Prelander before you send them to your site. I don't know what it is, but it all comes down to experimentation. What's working or what you think should be working isn't, because if it was, you'd be hitting your numbers. Not saying you should turn off those things, because some of them may be producing results, but instead you need to do crazy drastic experiments. If you don't go all the way to the left or all the way to the right, you won't really figure out what your audience or potential customer base is sensitive to. And once you figure out what they're sensitive to and what really moves the needle, that's what you need to double down on, because that'll help you hit your numbers. But it really comes down to experimentation. Everyone thinks that, oh, I can make this little tweak and I'll hit on my numbers, or I can make this A/B test, or if I just lifted this by 10%. When you're starting off, most of the basic stuff hasn't been done. It's not hard to hit your numbers. When you've been in business for years, it gets more difficult because all the basic things have already been done. That's why you need to go really to the extreme and try drastic changes.
Yeah, and there's a couple models that you can use. So I guess in some episodes we've shared at least for us, and I think Neil's agency also does this as well. We run traction meetings, right? Entrepreneur's Operating System. I recommend getting that book if you have a team, and then get your different teams. So we have our different teams running them, right? Let's say paid advertising team or the content team too, right? We're running these meetings, and within those meetings, those are very structured. They happen every single week. In those meetings, we have an experimentation section for the content team. It's called ICE, right? You can use the ICE model, which is impact, confidence, and ease, and that way you're able to kind of score what you think your tests are how they're going to perform. So you can score each section, like let's say impact. I think this test is going to have a really high impact. So on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to give it a 10. And you score confidence. How confident are you that this test is going to succeed? Maybe a 10. And then the ease, how easy is this to implement? Maybe that's a 10 as well. And you score it, and it's either it ranges from, as low as 3 to as high as 30. And then you can make a little more informed decision on how you should prioritize all your different ideas, all your different tests, and then you're just methodically analyzing them, seeing how you do over time. Because if you're not analyzing, you're not documenting how you're doing with your tests, you're just kind of picking off the air, and you're not sure where things are going, and then you're going to lose your shirt. Okay, you can use the ICE model, or you can Google Intercom RICE model. That's a little more sophisticated.
Once you get that out, once you get it going and you're figuring out how you can fix things, like if you're using the traction ICE model, you'll end up learning that, hey, these are the things that we need to get done, so that way we can grow, and you're just tackling them one by one. But it's just a lot of hard work and experimentation. We've ran the traction model for a very long time, and I remember in our sales meeting when we first started off, we weren't hitting the numbers. We would break down roadblocks, what's causing us from not hitting the numbers, crazy things that we need to test because everything that we thought would have worked didn't work. And eventually we got out of the slump, but it was just doing radically different things. To give you an idea, the other day I rolled out a webinar on my site, neilpatel.com, changed up the lead flow from the sales reps. They all went crazy, at least two of them, the VP of sales and another guy named Nate who works with us. He's like, man, people have to register for a webinar before they become a lead. I'm like, yeah, they got to watch, 40, 50 minutes before I'm going to even allow them to become a lead. And they're like, this is crazy. I wouldn't do it. I'm like, well, you're not the ideal customer. Fast forward a week, started working. Still haven't seen enough results for us to know if this is going to beat out the old model. But from the calls that they had, everyone showed up. They loved it. They were super engaged and like, oh, this could work. But if we didn't try something that crazy, like just think about it. You have to sit down and watch a webinar for 40 minutes before you're even allowed to become a lead. That's crazy talk. But it is working and it's doing something that's out of the norm.
There you go. When people zig, you zag in a different direction. So look, if you aren't hitting your numbers, just always come back to this one. Here's some wisdom. It's timeless. Hopefully it helps. By the way, we are looking to throw a live event with live streaming, with recorded videos as well in Los Angeles. If you're able to help us hit 1 million downloads over a 30-day period. Okay? So all we need you to do, let's go to marketingschool.io/stats. That's with an S. You can see how we're performing over time, and then rate, review, subscribe to this podcast. And once we hit that, we're going to throw the live event. We're aiming for Q1 or Q2 of 2019. We really need your help getting there. It's not some BS thing. Don't think like, oh, just my vote's not going to count. Every single vote counts. We really appreciate it. I'm begging you again on video. If you guys do it, we'll love you forever, and we'll see you tomorrow.
And we love you either way.